Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's evening, technically it's 6:18 at the moment now. I have a second shift today, which is my night shift. I've done yesterday one palliative care unit, and this is why I wanted to share with you guys my experience of being on a night shift. I have now about an hour before I go to sleep. I usually sleep from 7 till 9. And then I wake up and I have an hour to pack myself, and then at 10 p.m. I have to leave for my night shift. So if you are new to my channel, my name is Yana. I'm one of the registered nurses. I work here for Queensland Health, for Metro North. I work in one of the public hospitals. And yeah, I work in the general medicine ward. So yesterday I had my first night after 2 mornings. And I went on my ward, and for the past couple of weeks we've been closed down from 34 beds to 30, and even like on one shift last week we had even 26 beds, which was really unusual because usually this is not how it is on my ward. Plus ED was empty and other medical and surgical wards as well. So yeah, it was kind of weird. So because of that, all the nurses who come, we sometimes need to deploy one. And on my ward we try to take turns, so the same person won't be deployed to a different ward, which is not their native ward, like 2 times in a row or too frequent. So we all try to rotate and take turns. So yesterday when I came, they gave me 2 options. It was me and another nurse to be deployed, and we needed to be deployed to ED. Okay, and I'm like, well, I haven't been in ED for some time now, I will go. So I took a chance. I went down to ED, but apparently they were fully staffed there. So I spent like the 10 minutes, and they found out that actually nobody called sick, and then they have sent me to Palliative Care Unit. In Palliative Care Unit I've been a couple of times. I've picked up a weekend shifts there. I had the morning and afternoon shifts, but yesterday was my first night shift in Palliative Care Unit, which is part of my hospital as well. So I was like, okay, that's fine, I will go to Palliative Care Unit, no problem at all. I went there and it was quite interesting experience. So this is what I want to share. So in Palliative Care Unit we have only 16 beds. Again, I'm talking about my hospital. Other hospitals could be different. So we only have 16 beds, and on a night shift it was 3 nurses. One nurse was a TL, which is a team leader, and then another 2 nurses were me and the other nurse. We're all RNs. My team leader, she's a CN, clinical nurse, and we share differently the load of the patients. So for example, on my ward I have 34 beds. Okay, so we have a ratio of 6 patients to 1 at night. During the daytimes, your morning shift and your afternoon shift, you will have a ratio of 4 patients to 1 nurse, and you work in teams. So you will have your second nurse working with you. She will have her 4, you will have your 4, and you have 8 patients in total. If we don't have a float, then some of the teams would have 9 patients. Okay, but that's not every day, and we work in a team kind of environment. So I would be still looking after my 4, but we do all the DD checks together, we do all the cares together, assessments together, and everything that has to be done for patients, including new admissions, we do together, depending on how heavy our shift is. But in Palliative Care Unit it's different. I had 8 patients for me. So 8 patients for me, and then another nurse, she had another 8 patients for herself. And when I saw it first time, I'm like, oh, okay, because I saw it's like 3 of us on a floor, but then like I was given 8 patients. I did not understand first what was happening, and then she explained to me that this is how we work. Like, we take a handover of 8 patients, but then we share the load. So if my patient is buzzing, the other nurse can go. If her patient is buzzing, I would go to her patient, and you know, vice versa. So that's the load there. And then the team leader, she would jump in as well, and she would answer our buzzers, but she would not have her load. Okay. Yeah, so that was kind of interesting experience for me to learn. Then palliative care unit is not as busy as my unit, for example, my general medicine unit. Most of the patients there, as sad as it is, but they come there to either die on that unit or for symptoms management, pain management, and then if they choose to go home and they have the family to look after them or some sort of services to look after them at home, then they choose to die at home and spend that last days, weeks, months at home. Okay, and usually patients who come to palliative care unit, they're usually on the end stages of some sort of cancer. Okay, so yeah, it's really sad. It's very emotionally draining unit and environment to be, even on a night shift, and I'll tell you why in a couple of minutes. So yeah, with this load, what you do is you will be given throughout the night a lot of different PRN analgesia. Okay, because most of them will be in some sort of a pain. A lot of them will be on pumps, continuous infusions. A lot of them would have, if not a pump, then they will have a butterfly, so it's just like a needle subcut to their tummies where you can just administer to them analgesia. And because you give analgesia quite frequently, you don't want to prick their skin all the time. That's why we have a butterfly that can stay there for some time and then we change it again, so we can give all our injections through that butterfly. So we just prick them once for the duration while that butterfly is staying in the skin. I'll try to put for you here a picture of how the butterfly looks like on a palliative patient. Yeah, so you will be given a lot of analgesia. You won't be doing OBS because in palliative care unit there is no active treatment. Most of the patients there, they are not for CPR or for med calls. For that reason, because we're just making their last living days, time, weeks, whatever you call it, as comfortable as we can. So we're not going to resuscitate them, there is no point for that. We're not going to med call them because again, there is no point for that. And we don't want to stress them out too much by doing OBS, because again, it's not the point of their stay there. Okay, so no VGLs, no OBS, unless there is someone who is like, I have a couple of men who were under my cares yesterday and they were pretty independent. One had a cancer of his lungs and the other one, I think it was a colon cancer as far as I remember, but they were still in a stage where they were in pain, but we were managing their symptoms, yet they were still physically able to mobilize by themselves. They could get up, go to the toilet, sit down on a bed, have a drink, whatever. So they were pretty independent. So sometimes maybe on those patients, if they are type 2 diabetics, you might just check the sugars. But if someone is on some sort of steroids, on my ward we would be checking at least daily their sugars, but on this ward you don't check the sugars. And like yesterday I was going through the charts and I saw someone was on dexamethasone and I don't see any like BGL chart, and I'm like, guys, like you don't check the sugars, you know, because what steroids do to your body, they bring the sugars up if you are on a continuous use of it. And they were like, no, we don't do that. Like if someone has a type 2 diabetes, we might just check, but yeah, like, so that's a completely different world. And then your other cares that you will be providing for them would be your pad changing, would be lots of repositioning. So you would be doing it like pretty much all night, 2-hourly, 3-hourly repositioning, making sure that the person is comfortable. You would be checking all the infusions and things like that. The doctors would not come much through the night at all, because there is nothing acute is happening there. You might have some people with a lot of confusion. They would be still on that ward, but they would be on a sensor mats inserted into their beds. So every time if the person gets up and tries to walk, they would have a sensor mat that would be alarming us nurses to go and just redirect the patient, see what they need, help them, and things like that. You will have a lot of family members staying overnight as well. We have like lots of recliner chairs there in the room. The rooms there are very spacey. You would have a room of 4 people, you would have a room of a single person, and it would be a really big, nice room with the oven shower inside, toilet and everything, small kitchenette. And then they would have like a recliner chair or a fold-out chair for the family member to come and sleep there. Some family members can bring, like, you know, one of those camping beds and just put it on the floor to sleep through the night. Yeah, so you will have a lot of family members. Now, going back to that point that I wanted to mention, that it's very emotionally draining unit. So I had a patient there that she was kind of like hitting towards the end, and last night, I think it was about 1 o'clock in the morning, she passed away. It was nothing unexpected. As I said, she was already going that way, so it was more or less expected to happen. So she passed away, and we needed to call the family because they were not there for her, so they could come and just say goodbye, stay with her for a while. So usually when the person passes away, you call the family, they would come and stay there for a couple of hours. We would keep the body there still, so they would stay there for a couple of hours. We will leave them alone. If they need anything, they're welcome to come out and ask us. We can provide reassurance and support to them and everything. And then after that, when they take their time and they leave, we also contact the doctor. And then after the family leaves, so the doctor has the opportunity to come and assess the patient, confirm that the patient has passed, and do the certificate of death. Yesterday, it took doctor from 1 o'clock until 6:15 to come and do that. Just because it's not a priority for them through the night. They have a lot of med calls in surgical and other medical wards, ED department and all of that. So the doctor came to us at 6:15. She done all the documentation and then she left, and it was then up to us nurses to go and prep the body, pack it into a bag, call the body to come and transport the body to the morgue. We have a morgue just the same floor as the palliative care unit in my hospital, so it's like a minute walk. So so the body would come and take the body to the morgue, and then the family will contact funeral to organize everything else from their side. Like, we don't do that. Usually it's arranged by the families because they pick which funerals they want, you know, and how they want that to go there, you know, whether they want to do a cremation or like a traditional funeral, whatever. It's up to the families, their cultures, their tradition, beliefs, and all of that. The hardest part for us, I would say, nurses, is just prepping the body. So depending on how many devices is connected, like yesterday my patient, she had an IDC, so we needed to take that out. She had a butterfly, so we needed to take that out. Because it's not an active treatment unit, we don't have like a lot of IVCs because we don't treat them with fluids or any IV medication. So there are no PICC lines, there are no drains. Some people would have stomas, which you will need to remove as well, like stoma bags and things like that. So yeah, so we needed to remove just a butterfly and the IDC. We needed to just clean the body and pack it, put all the certificates and stickers and everything on a bag and send it. It is still very hard emotionally to do it, because you have in front of you like a human being that you've been looking after a couple of hours ago, and now this human being is dead, basically. I mean, like, it's hard, especially if someone passes away in a young age. It is very hard. Like, I had many patients on my ward who would pass away before even getting bed in palliative care unit. We had a young patient, they were 29 years old, drinking since they were teenage age. Came to us with jaundice, was completely yellow, the liver was giving up, and problem with kidneys as well. Like, a lot of organs were affected by alcohol, drinking for so many years, from teenagehood till like late 30s, late 20s, sorry. And yes, the person was confirmed to be palliative, I think even end of life. And while that person was waiting for palliative care unit bed, they passed away on our shift. I think it was the second day after their admission. It's heartbreaking to see young people pass away. I understand that it's their choices, you know, it's nothing to do with us when it comes to the choices that people make for the health of their life being and everything. But it's heartbreaking to see when they come to us in a state where we can't anymore help them, and all what you can do now is just assist them comfortably to pass away, because it's nothing else you can do. And it's very emotionally draining as well, very hard. But because I don't work in palliative care unit where I would be dealing with this on a daily basis, I'm kind of okay. But in a palliative care unit, you have someone passing away either every day or every couple of days, because it is an end destination to many patients who go there. And you have to provide a lot of reassurance to the family members, because they cry, they feel frustrated. You know, you were the last person who were looking after their mom, dad, sister, cousin, whoever, so they would be talking to you, and you are like a sponge standing there absorbing all of that and trying to give your energy to that person to support them emotionally, because they are in pain. So by the end of the shift, you feel drained, you feel really drained. Like yesterday, relatives who came to see that patient who passed away, they were crying, and I needed to provide for them support, and I felt heartbroken by seeing someone else crying. It's very hard. And then also yesterday we had on a shift another patient. They were in late 40s, multiple metastasized cancer to the brain, spine, and most of the bones in the body. That patient had a small child, and they actually had like a marriage ceremony. So what the nurses on an afternoon shift have done, they've dressed the patient and took the patient out on a fold-out chair to the gardens that we have at the back of our palliative care unit. Took some photos. It was a ceremony. They got married. It was really, really nice. But the time I started my shift already, the child of this patient was there, and the partner. But seeing the young child being there, not knowing that their parent is gonna pass away any soon, I think they were given the patient 48 hours to leave. It's just heartbreaking, because the child is just running around the room watching cartoons, you know, like happy, but the child does not know what's happening to one of their parents, which is just lying down beside on a bed. And probably the child won't remember any of that, because they are very young, you know. But for us nurses, realizing all of that, looking at the situation, it's very, very sad to look at. Yeah, so that was my experience yesterday in a palliative care unit. I'm not a kind of nurse who would choose palliation as my career or a place of interest, because I don't feel like I want to work in palliation. Some people do. A lot of older nurses choose to go to palliative care unit, to the rehab units, after they've done a lot of acute placements, you know, working as teachers, educators, CNs, and then they are not yet at the age of retirement, but they're feeling already physically tired and drained to do a lot of active work on the floor in acute areas. They choose to go to rehab and palliative care units to just kind of like rest a little bit there and slow down. So if you ever end up practicing maybe as a student, or maybe having your grad year in palliative care units, you will see that the tendency there of the nurses would be like elderly nurses working there. Yeah, you would not do a lot of medications because most of the patients won't be able to take them orally. A lot of patients who are not active at all, like the two men that I have mentioned to you earlier, who were still independent, like being able to eat by themselves, go to toilets, they would be on some sort of still oral medications. But those ones whose oral intake has declined, the conscious state has declined as well, mobility has declined, they won't be able to eat and any food or drink anything. So as well, when it comes to medication, they would be changed to most of the medications to subcuts, and those medications would be your analgesia, something for their secretions, something for sedation like your midazolam, for example, to make them comfortable, as well different types of analgesia as well to rotate between. And the frequency of the analgesia would be not like on your other wards. Here you would be given it like hourly, 2 hours, and it would not have a max dose. Okay, again, because we are trying to make the living period of a palliative patient as comfortable and pain-free as possible. So you would not find max dose on the chart of your PRN analgesia, and the frequency of dosages would be much shorter than on other wards. So this is something that you would see different in palliative care unit. Yeah, it's very cruisy, very slow, very quiet unit otherwise. But yeah, apart from that, I don't know, I mean, like, some people like it, but I thought I will share with you guys. Yeah, and the night would be also normal hours. Like, I had my 8-hour shift, so I started at 10:45. We clocked off at 7:20, I think it was, so the handover started at 8, and I was done by my normal hours as I have on my ward. So I have done quite early and I went home. I gave handover of my 8 patients to the following shift. So again, even though we were helping each other with our patients' loads, when it comes to handover, I was receiving my 8 and I gave handover of my 8. I did not hand over any other patients except those 8 that I have received on a handover when I started the shift. And also when it comes to the progress notes, I only done the progress notes for my patients, okay? But what I've noticed, some of the girls do progress notes of each other, because I had 2 patients left when I needed to go on my break, and when I came back, the other nurse, she was like, oh, I've done the progress notes for your 2 patients. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you, that was really nice of her. Also, one thing that I forgot to tell you, so in palliative care unit in my hospital, they give you break of 1 hour, which is really cool. Like, on my ward, on any shift, you have 2 breaks. You have your 20 minutes break and you have your 30 minutes break. In palliative care unit, you have 1 hour, which is not that much from like 50-minute break. If you combine 20 and 30, like it's by 10 minutes more, but still you can have like all together 1 hour and go and sleep. So in a staff room they have their recliner chair to sleep on, they have a massage chair, and then they have a separate room where they have a couch as well. So you can either choose to sleep on a couch or you can go and sleep on a recliner, and you close the door on yourself, grab some warm blankets from the heater, and just go and sleep for 1 hour, which I've done yesterday. And that 1 hour of sleep makes so much difference to your body throughout the shift. I went yesterday to sleep from 3 o'clock in the morning to 4, and it was so good. And like us 3 nurses, we like agreed between each other who goes first, who goes second, who goes third. I chose to go second because when my other nurse was going to her first break, she was like, do you want to go on the first one? And I didn't feel sleepy yet, so I was like, no, I'll go after you. And that was like the perfect timing. When she came back, I was already so tired, because usually your body starts to feel really tired after about 2-3 o'clock in the morning. At least it is for me like this. And this is when I started to feel, this is when I start usually to feel tired and start to like fall asleep, you know, if I'm not active, if I'm not doing much during that period of time. But yeah, usually I try to knock off my notes, progress notes, starting from like 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, so that's really good. Like to go and sleep for 1 hour is just perfect. It's just absolutely perfect, and I really like that about this unit. Yeah, so that's my experience of a night shift in palliative care unit. I hope it was interesting for you guys. Maybe, as I said, you will be placed there as a nursing student during your clinical placements, or maybe you will end up having your grad year in there. You will see how cruisy it is. Just prep yourself emotionally, probably to not to take a lot with you home, because it will affect you eventually with time, you know, time after time it will impact you. Try to learn how to let go everything that you have seen and went through throughout your shift behind the hospital doors, and just go home and rest and cleanse yourself out of everything until your next shift. I think this would be a coping mechanism for you if you will be placed in palliative care unit. But yeah, it's an interesting experience. Anyways, if you have any questions, or if you want to leave your comments of your experience working in palliation, please feel free to comment below under this video. And thank you for watching. If you like my content, don't forget to subscribe and put thumbs up for this video, and I will see you in my next videos. Bye.